Brighton Town Supervisor, and we welcome you here tonight, whether you're in the room in person or watching us remotely. And of course, if you're here in the room in person, you are at our new temporary home while Town Hall undergoes renovations that are going to last 18 to 24 months. We've been talking about that for a while, but we are located at the SUNY Empire State University campus, 680 West Fall Road. However, the Brighton Memorial Library, the Brighton Police Department, and the Brighton Courts are still located at Town Hall in separate wings that are not being reconstructed, 2300 Elmwood Avenue. And of course, our Parks and Recreation departments are still located at Brookside School, the former Brookside School on Winton Road. We will begin the open forum portion of our meeting shortly after we do a proclamation. Of course, the open forum is that portion of the meeting where the public can share their comments, questions, concerns with the town board. I'll give more detailed instructions on open forum when we get to that part of the meeting, but just as a heads up, if you are watching us remotely and want to participate in the open forum, you'll have to join us on Zoom. And there are, of course, instructions for doing that on the town's webpage, www.townofbrighton.org. As we have done for many years, we make all of our town board meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community, and we appreciate our ASL interpreters here tonight. Thank you so much. As a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting, along with all of the supporting materials that we will be reviewing in making our decisions tonight, are all available on the town's webpage. If you are able, I would ask you to rise. If you are not, please rise in spirit and join us in a pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilmember Salzman to lead us tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For those of you that were not able to attend the Town of Brighton's Martin Luther King Day celebration, I thought it was an exceptional event. We had it right here in this room. We had a standing room only crowd. And we were here in addition to celebrating and honoring the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we were also honoring Dr. Ruth Scott with the town's Keeper of the Dream Award. As I said that night, I have a hard time calling her Dr. Scott because I've called her Ruth for so many years. But Dr. Scott truly is a Renaissance woman, author, longtime community leader, first black woman on city council, first black president of Rochester City Council. After she retired from city council, she moved later to the town of Brighton, where she became a very active volunteer with the Brighton Memorial Library, served as president of the Brighton Memorial Library Board. Been there, done that. Ruth has done so much for the greater Rochester area. It was really a privilege to be able to recognize her at that ceremony. We also heard a couple of selections from RPO trumpeter Herb Smith and his Freedom Trio. Students from Brighton High School, Mercy High School, and 12 Corners Middle School all spoke, really very much in keeping with the theme of keeping the dream alive and passing that dream on through the generations. Councilmember Wilt spoke. And I really want to thank our Chief Diversity Officer, Miriam Moore, who organized what really I think was a great event. As part of that event, the town board issued a proclamation and I'll share that proclamation with you. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. promoted his belief in the equality of all men and women and courageously employed the principle of nonviolence as the primary strategy to fight for freedom and justice for all, ultimately losing his life by assassination after enduring years of personal sacrifice. Whereas the only federal holiday with dual designation as a national day of service, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is also a time to serve others through volunteerism and to engage in community action seeking to solve social problems. Whereas in honoring Dr. King, we must continue building stronger, more diverse communities that reject racism, sexism, bigotry, poverty, so that one day we will fully realize the great promise of democracy. Whereas today, and of course by today I mean last Friday, we honor Dr. Ruth Holland Scott, a trailblazer in education and politics, published author, and first African-American woman elected to Rochester City Council, whose life of service embodies the ideals promoted by Dr. King. Whereas overcoming barriers and bringing people from different backgrounds together to build stronger communities, this outstanding Brightonian has made an indelible positive impact on the world and was awarded Brighton's Keeper of the Dream Award. And whereas, to quote Dr. King, human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Each step towards the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and on behalf of the Brighton Town Council, do hereby designate January 20, 2025 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the town of Brighton, and further name Dr. Ruth Holland Scott as the 2025 honoree, Keeper of the Dream of the town of Brighton's Martin Luther King Day commemoration. And we thank her for devoting her life to ending injustice, discrimination, and furthering the education of children. And this proclamation was signed the 17th day of January 2025 by all of the members of the Brighton Town Board. Okay, next we do begin our open forum, which we hold at the beginning of every town board meeting. The open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item on our agenda tonight. If you are here or remotely on for the public hearing tonight, I would encourage you to wait until that public hearing is opened so that your comments can be included in the record of the public hearing. We have one speaker here in person tonight, so I do see that there is someone with their hand raised on the Zoom, and we will get to you after we go through anybody here in the room, Mr. Tetanoff, and you'll have the opportunity to speak remotely. Pete Belay is here and has asked to speak again. I'll just go through those rules. If you're here in person and you'd like to speak during the open forum, please raise your hand. When I call on you, please come to the podium to speak. If you are participating in the meeting remotely and you wish to speak during the open forum, you must first join the meeting on Zoom. And as I mentioned earlier, there are detailed instructions for doing that on the town's webpage. And you'll be admitted from the Zoom meeting room, Zoom waiting room by the host if you're not already in the room. And you'll be able to use that Zoom raised hand function. I ask all speakers during the open forum, whether in person or speaking remotely, to please state your name and address before speaking. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I will give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. We may not be able to answer questions that folks may have, particularly if your question relates to a matter that's not on tonight's agenda. But our goal here tonight and during the open forum that we hold at every town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully to your words. Therefore, please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind, including applause, boos, or other similar disruption during the open forum, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everybody here tonight. Also, out of respect for people here in the room, we do not allow signs to be displayed during town board meetings, including during the open forum. Persons who do not follow these rules will be warned. We'll give you an opportunity. Hopefully you will be able to comply by those rules, but repeated failure to follow the rules may result in your speaking privileges being ended early, being directed to leave the meeting, or the early termination of open forum. So as I mentioned, we do have one speaker here now, Pete Boulay. Pete, the podium is yours. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Supervisor Maley and the town board members. And to the few I don't know, my name is Peter Boulay, and I live at 64 Guildhall Road in Henrietta. I'm here to give a long overdue update on the Facebook group that I run that used to be called the Henrietta Brighton Neighborhood Watch Group, now known as the Rush Henrietta Brighton Scottsville, New York Crime, Safety, and Reports Group. Say that 10 times fast and you win a As the title suggests, the group has expanded to cover all of Rush, Henrietta, and Scottsville, as well as Brighton. The towns are so close, it only makes sense to do so. I've always envisioned this group to be a centralized source of information. There is so much information out there and so many sources that putting it in one group saves time and effort for those wanting to be aware. Awareness is critical for safety. You don't know what is going on in your community. How can you be prepared to help not only yourself, but maybe an elderly neighbor or someone with young children? I also include blotters from both the Crime Watch app for Brighton, as well as the Monroe County Sheriff's B-Zone when they put them out. Also included are social media postings for both the Brighton and Henrietta Fire Departments and ambulance organizations, again, when I'm aware of them. I also keep an eye out for the Monroe County Firewire account on X, Twitter, as well as the Monroe County 911 reports website. Missing persons reports from the sheriffs only are posted as well, as long as they are Monroe County residents. I recently recruited a new moderator position to help keep an eye out, as well as a tech-minded friend who's helping me look into possibly automating gathering some of this information. I don't know when that'll actually work, but I'm working on it. As part of growing the group starting this year, I will begin to include the Sheriff's Behind the Badge podcast, because I think it shows the human side of the officers, as well as discussing relevant issues. Captain Cathaldi, I said I was going to give you a little bit of attention tonight. I would like to see you guys do something for the Brighton Police as well. Think about an idea just to show the other side of the officers that do such good work for Brighton. So many who I've met personally and maybe been pulled over once. No tickets, so. We've had some issues with postings from people seeking vigilante justice.
30 seconds, Pete.
I'm sorry?
About 30 seconds left.
Yeah, due to the recent uptick in crime. And I will assure you they aren't tolerated and they are eliminated as soon as I'm made aware of them. Political and legal law discussions are also not allowed in order to avoid any indication of partisanship or bias. If there are questions from the board, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Please be aware that my hearing has gone down the tubes, so I would ask this young lady here to repeat any questions you may have if I don't understand them.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you for coming in tonight, and thank you for the work you do with that group. I'm glad you gave a shout out to Crime Watch, because that is a great vehicle for members of the community to get updates on what is happening in law enforcement incidents here in the town of Brighton. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Belay? Well, thank you again, Pete, and appreciate you coming in. Is there anyone else here in person that would like to address the board during the open forum tonight? We do have, I see one hand raised, and I would ask the moderator on the Zoom to unmute Mr. Tetanoff, please.
Hello.
Good evening.
I had a question for Dan. I've put in a FOIL request several times over the last 3 or 4 years. Most recently, maybe 2 months ago. And I'm wondering why my FOIL requests are not even being addressed. I asked for the staff roster or the personnel that are employed by the town of Brighton. It's not cool to have a secret government of employees. I don't know if you have the same mentality that Linda Kingsley, the former corporation counsel for the city of Rochester, does, where she keeps saying, "I'm never going to fulfill a FOIL request for staff information. Let them sue me." Is that also the mentality that you have?
Mr. Tetanoff, why don't, if you can just complete your statement, and then we can let the clerk answer your questions.
And the other questions that I had were about this maybe for the supervisor, the police chief. There are a bunch of needles found near the school. What's the reaction to being left near our kids? Are kids no longer safe going to school and back, especially for the people that walk to school? What's the reaction to the videos of these needles being found strewn about near the schools?
Is that, do you have any other questions, Mr. Tetanoff?
Well, it depends on your feedback. If your answer is no comment, then I mean, you guys can try to keep running a secret government if you want to, but that's not lawful. And I mean that's going into a criminal behavior by your part.
I'll let the clerk answer your first question. Dan?
Yeah, I do not know the status off the top of my head of that FOIL request.
I submitted them multiple times, and I've never gotten a response to those FOIL requests, and I'd like to know why.
I think I just answered.
Just the answer that you don't know.
Mr. Tetanoff, as I noted in the opening, we may not be able to answer every question. Dan indicated that he does not know the specific status of your most recent FOIL request, but I am confident that he will review that and get back to you as required by the Freedom of Information law. With respect to your other question, I believe you were, to the best of my knowledge, there was one video, I saw it. There were some needles at a bus stop. Stop me if this is not the video you're referring to. It was at a bus stop near the corner of Clinton and Elmwood. Obviously, that's very disconcerting, and particularly because that is very close to McQuaid High School. As you know, if you saw the video, one of our police officers responded to the scene, immediately picked up the needles and had them disposed of. It is obviously not acceptable to have that kind of apparent, indications of possible drug use at a location like that. But to answer your question, is it safe to go to school? Yes, it is safe to go to school. Brighton has some of the best schools in the state of New York. Both our public schools and our private and parochial schools. McQuaid is one of them. But yes, it's something that we're aware of. It's something after I saw it, I made the chief aware of it. And we give, I know that the chief, if he has additional remarks to say, but that's a situation that we, would be very concerned about. And it's not acceptable. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Hearing none. Chris, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Bill, I move that we approve the agenda with the addition of one other item of hiring.
Second.
Yes, thank you. It's an item that we'll do at the end of new business. It's entering into a contract for consulting services with Michael Guyon. And with that addition, Chris has moved the approval of the agenda. Robin has seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. We have one public hearing tonight. It's a public hearing concerning capital purchases by the Brighton Sewer Department. Section 202B of the town law of the state of New York requires capital purchases over a certain amount in the sewer district to be subject to a public hearing, and that is the hearing that we have tonight. Before we start the hearing, I'll again remind everyone that if you would like to speak during the hearing, if you're here in person, please raise your hand. I'll call on you. Please come to the podium and speak. If you are participating in the meeting remotely and you wish to speak during the hearing, you must first join the meeting on Zoom. There are instructions for doing that on the town's webpage. After you've been admitted to the Zoom meeting, if you want to speak during the public hearing, please use the raised hand function on Zoom, and you'll be given the opportunity to speak. Please state your name and address for the record of the public hearing before speaking. Please direct your remarks to the town board. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind, including but not limited to applause, boos, or other similar disruption during the public hearing, out of respect for the speakers and for the time of everybody here tonight. As I mentioned earlier, out of respect for others in the room who may not see, if you're holding a sign, we do not allow signs to be displayed during town board meetings, including during public hearings. Persons who do not follow these rules will be warned. Repeated failure to follow these rules or failure to follow other instructions from the chair may result in your speaking privileges being ended or being directed to leave the meeting. Again, as I mentioned, we do have one public hearing tonight relating to the purchase of vehicle inspection platforms For our highway and sewer departments, these are used by both of those departments. The sewer share of that is about a third, so the cost from a sewer district perspective will not exceed $6,600. Also, design services with respect to the Allens Creek Road sanitary sewer project, the amount of that would not exceed $175,000. And again, this public hearing is being held under the terms of Section 202-B of the town law of the state of New York. And Dan, I'll ask, has the legal notice been given for this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor, notice was published in the January 14th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. Legal notice having been given, I declare this public hearing to be open. I will ask our Deputy Superintendent of Public Works, Bill Hafner. Welcome tonight, Bill.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add to the material that's in the packet here?
Well, the vehicle inspection platform is essentially a metal staircase with extended platform. It's critical for the safety of our employees. It's also recommended by the insurance company that we upgrade the ones that we are currently using. Essentially, it's used for, getting over larger equipment, our dump trucks, our loaders, and be able to inspect them safely, maintain them, cleaning, and our loaders too.
Good. And some of that is sewer equipment, and some of that is highway
Yes.
equipment, and you've
Yes, absolutely.
approximated over
We
time.
share it all.
Yeah, about 2/3 of it highway and a 1/3
Yes.
sewer.
Yes.
Great. And then the Allens Creek project
Then
is
the
something
Allens
we've had on our capital plan for,
Yep,
some
we're looking
time?
at the funds to hire an engineer for a study to form a project plan to update the system. With all the houses going up, I think, essentially the system has to be, bigger. We're running some smaller pipes down through there. And then it's the East Ave end, Allens Creek, Brookside neighborhood. And upon doing so, we'll get together an RFP and then come back to the board with recommendations for approval.
good. Thank you. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address the board concerning this public hearing? Seeing no one, is there anyone online on our Zoom? And again, I see no one on the Zoom. If we have no one here to speak at this public hearing, I declare this public hearing to be closed, and I will ask Councilmember Corrado, please, to move on the resolution.
Happy to do so. In the matter regarding the Consolidated Sewer District purchasing vehicle inspection platforms in an amount not to exceed $6,600 and design services for the Allens Creek Road sanitary sewer project in an amount not to exceed $175,000, I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And I would note in that resolution, the first action paragraph of it is a determination under SEQR, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, that this project is what is called a Type 2 action under the meaning of SEQR, and therefore no further SEQR action is needed by the town board at this time. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. We have two items of communication listed here, one from Rabbi Nehemiah Vogel, expressing appreciation at my attendance at the menorah lightings during Hanukkah, both in downtown Rochester as well as in the Brighton 12 Corners. Also, and Rabbi, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. And also communication from Matt Beeman, our park superintendent, concerning the resignation of a Parks Department employee. But Nate Salzman has advised me that he has received an additional item of communication that you'd like to read into the into the record tonight, and we'll add that to the.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. With the snow coming down and all sorts of weather, not just the snow, but the sleet and the ice, I know our crews are out there working very hard and at odd hours of the night. And I received this text message on Monday afternoon, and this text is from a Brighton resident. She said, her name's Rachel Present. She said, there was a highway department plow on Brandywine. Something was in the road blocking it, and they took the time to go around it and plow perfectly without damaging what was in the road. It looked to be some sort of trailer. Lots of drivers wouldn't have cared about not damaging this trailer, but this driver did, and I want you to know that I noticed. And so I just wanted to pass it along. Bill, if you could pass it along to your team. Their hard work is noticed by our residents, and we thank them.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Certainly is, and thank you for reading that. With that item added, can I have a motion to receive and file the communications?
I move that we receive and file the communications.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Committee reports, Community Services, Robin.
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee met last Wednesday, January 15th. Among the items we discussed were one item of communication from Dr. Kate Donovan regarding Brighton's environmental impact. That communication has been shared with the Highway Department for comment as well. Within the context of the Parks Department, there was a discussion of communication with neighbors and the extent of the use of gas-powered leaf blowers, as well as possible conversion to electric. There was also discussion of altering language of purchasing and procurement policies to provide for more sustainable purchasing choices overall. Under items of continuing business, park issues, the department is engaged with ongoing snow removal and salting. A newly acquired salter that was part of budgeted expenditures was installed on one of the existing department trucks, allowing it to be used to salt both Buckland Lodge and the Winter Farmers Market parking lots. In other ongoing maintenance items, Kakamisi Electric is looking at some electrical equipment in need of repair at Buckland Park. The project is still underway. And as of January 10th, we'll talk about, this was an item of communication. There is a full-time opening in the Parks Department, and although the recruitment process to fill the position is underway, it will take some time to fill it, practically speaking, given the constraints of the position, so the department may be shorthanded into spring. The park superintendent discussed the likely schedule and that the vacant position will entail and qualifications needed. It is a non-competitive position, so there is no civil service list associated with the hiring. Finally, we had a follow-up discussion regarding a proposed tree nursery to supply replacement trees in the case of town tree removals. The fencing for the nursery has been budgeted for the fiscal year. There was a recommendation made by Parks Superintendent in coordination with George Smith of the Conservation Board to place a tree nursery on the far end of the community garden near the pole barn. The site would have ready access to water via the community garden. Our recreation director will speak to the coordinator of the community garden to make them aware of the potential fencing project. And then there was a brief discussion of synergies between the garden and the tree nursery, parking at the market barn, and the need for connectivity to all of those sites. An update to our recreation programs. The Recreation Department attended the Brighton Central School District Summer Camp Activities Fair on January 8th and was able to connect with many families regarding its summer camp and current program offerings. Summer camp planning is underway with the department. Camp registration for Brighton residents will begin on Tuesday, March 18th. Winter and spring program registration began earlier this month for residents and non-residents alike and is going well. For one particular program, that is the AARP Volunteer Tax Prep offering. Appointments are being made until sessions are full. It's quite a popular offering. While a Brighton Recreation offering, this class is physically located at the Spiegel Community Recreation and Community Center in Pittsford. Full details about that programming is online at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. Instructor and vendor contracts are being renewed for the new year. The Brickyard Trail exhibition planning, the Brickyard Trail art exhibition planning is underway, and the exhibition will be opening on Saturday, March 8th. Last item we discussed under recreation was the potential for 2025 community bike ride programming. There's an anticipated budget of $280 per ride, as chaperoned by Reconnect Rochester. Last year, 2 rides were sponsored by community members. One was underwritten by the Recreation Department, and we're exploring the town's ability to provide an insurance rider to alleviate that expense. And there's a possibility of scheduling 4 rides for the town of Brighton this year to take place during the summer and fall timeframe. An update to our winter farmers market. The loss of Petite Poutine will be impactful for the summer market, as this was a popular staple offering at the market. I hear groans around the table. However, while the opportunity of one vendor sunsets, we're pleased to welcome the addition of Amazing Grains as a new offering at the market. Attendance at the market continues to be strong despite frigid temperatures, and parking appears to be adequate at this point with the addition of the gravel lot. An update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. We did have discussions of the then upcoming Martin Luther King commemoration program, and our honoree, Dr. Ruth Holland Scott, and the honored guests and speakers, and the musical performances. In particular, we were happy to highlight the participation of student speakers from Brighton High School, 12 Corners Middle School, and Our Lady of Mercy High School. Comprehensive planning for the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board for 2025 is underway. February will mark a celebration of Black History Month. There is also discussion of the Town Talk series that will kick off in March on Tuesday evenings during that month. And finally, we discussed Rochester Monroe Anti-Poverty Initiative, or RMAPI, policy agendas, and how its mission intersects with the town of Brighton's IDEA plan, and discussion of the fact that we are a pro-housing community and what metrics will need to be documented for that town designation. And finally, the possibility of the IDEA board to be involved in a surface project centered on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and more to follow on that. An update to our clean energy community priority actions. Our energy efficiency conservation block grant revised application, switching from a voucher to standard grant program, has been submitted, and we are waiting final approval. The annual report of the Sustainability Oversight Committee is being compiled, and all NYSERDA solar and roofing projects are underway. There has been a slight delay in roof installations. And we had a discussion around establishing a revolving sustainability fund to warehouse the funds for our projects, given our success in securing grant funding for our sustainability efforts. We had an update to our town annual clean sweep and recycling events. Our clean sweep is scheduled for Saturday, May 17th. The permit has been submitted to Monroe County. We have a facility request submitted to Empire State University. We're waiting confirmation, and then sponsor information will go out. We had a discussion of recycling event dates, and that date for the spring is penciling out to be Saturday, May 3rd. We do have some conflicts with other community events, in particular the launch day for Brighton Little League. So, but that does look like the date it's penciling out to be. And then we talked about the potential for the participation in Beyond Pesticides program with Monroe County and codifying the town's policy on pesticide usage. Our park superintendent will speak with Rika Gopinath from Beyond Pesticides, and we'll set up a meeting to see the potential for town's collaboration. We talked about the practice of inventorying Eagle Scout projects, and Park Superintendent Matt Beeman will be the contact person for interested Eagle Scouts, and he will coordinate with our Public Works Department to inventory those projects. Upcoming events, we have our Brickyard Trail Art Exhibition that I mentioned at the historic Buckland House. That will be Saturdays and Sundays in March, March 8th, 9th, 15th, 16th, 22nd to 23rd, 29th, 30th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Again, our Tuesday Town Talks will take place at the temporary home of Brighton Town Hall, Empire State University, 680 Westfall Road, on Tuesday, March 11th, 18th, and 25th at 6:30 p.m. The Drug Enforcement Agency semi-annual pharmaceutical take-back event will take place at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing over at 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Saturday, April 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event will take place at the Brighton Highway Department parking lot, 1941 Elmwood Avenue, on Saturday, May 3rd, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And as I mentioned, Brighton Clean Sweep will take place at a location to be determined, hopefully here at Empire State University on Saturday, May 17th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on a different day, Thursday, February 20th, 2025 at 10 a.m. or immediately following Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting, if we intend to move that date as well, at the Brighton Recreation Center, 1666 Winton Road South. Please do use the Winton Road entrance, and as usual, members of the public are invited and encouraged to attend.
Thank you, Robin. And yes, I think the schedule of the Finance Committee already has the meeting,
Yeah.
the February, that meeting moved.
Earl's very good about that.
Right,
So I'm
yeah,
sure he does.
yeah. It's
So,
not the next one, it's the next one after
yeah,
that,
the
so
second
I haven't-
meeting in February, several of us will be at the State Association of Towns annual meeting. But speaking of Finance Committee, Nate, your report.
So I was going to say, Councilmember, I've noticed a significant drop in Taylor Swift events. And I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the upcoming Bills versus Chiefs game, or if that's just a coincidence. Our last Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting was January 15th. Most of what we talked about is on tonight's agenda. I want to highlight one item in particular. There's an item on here for this that authorizes the supervisor to increase the agreement with DSA Services for the Town Hall renovation project's abatement removal from $643,000 to $1 million. Now, that's an important piece of the project here because as they're doing this abatement project, things are going to come up. And rather than taking 2 weeks plus for every small change, this allows the team to make that decision on the fly, come back to the Finance and Administrative Services Committee, where we can approve the change and then come before you guys. You know, one of the things that we talked about with this project is it's important to get this done efficiently, because, time is money here. And any 2-week delay to the project is going to end up costing us more money. And I want to give props to our town team who came up with this idea. I think it's going to make the whole process more efficient and run smoother. And in the long run, I think it's going to save us money. And of course, all of these approvals will be done at the FAST committee and then brought before you here at the town board meeting. So I wanted to point out that change. The next Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting, that's a lot to say. Maybe I should just say FASC, the second and third time I said. The next FASC meeting will be on February 5th, right here at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you, Nate. Public safety. Chris.
Thanks, Bill. We had our last public safety meeting on January the 14th. We had reports from police and fire services, their calls to date. We also had a discussion of parking on Brook Lawn at Westfall. Some resident expressed some concerns, and the issue is being looked at. The Public Works Department said they're ready for snow, and they got it.
And they were.
And they did a great job. And as part of the police report, we had a further discussion and report on the tragedy on Hollyvale, and I was going to call it in some way like the firearm tragedy or whatever. No, a child and her grandmother were shot and killed in a Brighton neighborhood. I cannot imagine anything more tragic than that. And the chief pointed out that in accordance with our law here in Brighton, we pass out free gun locks. There's nothing complicated about them. This one's available to the first taker. Oh yeah, I don't have weapons myself, but I'll hold this one. If someone would like it, I'll give it to them. All you have to do is go to the police department. The lock is simple. It's put down, this running end is put down through the magazine or in the barrel or in the ejection port of the firearm, and then secured and locked, and please remove the key. That disables the weapon. It cannot be used at that point. If the pistol that had been used in this shooting, in these two shootings, and then the suicide that followed, had one of these in place, we would not have suffered this tragedy. So please, they're free, they're at the police department, all you got to do is ask. And here's one for you if you'd like. Our next meeting is February the 11th, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, right here.
Thanks, Chris. Christine, Public Works.
So last week was peak week for committee meetings, and I highly recommend everyone having back-to-back meetings, Tuesday, Wednesday, 2 meetings each day to start off your day feeling really good about what the town of Brighton accomplishes. Our meetings are meaty, as you can tell. But I don't have a complete update on the Public Works Committee. It was such a robust meeting that the minutes are still in the works. However, I do want to highlight at least one matter that we discussed. We had an update on the DASNY Sidewalk Grant, and that is the fund that paid for the world's most expensive itty-bitty stretch of sidewalk in Brighton, probably all of the state of New York, on East Avenue. A small miracle occurred. Not only did that sidewalk get completed, finally, but there was some $220,000 left over from that project, and the state wants us to spend it on more sidewalks. We don't need to give it back. So our staff are working on finding the appropriate place to invest that $220,000, and I think the supervisor has more on that.
Yeah, and actually, it could be sidewalks, but it could be other capital projects, equipment, and the like. So we're looking at putting together an extensive list of potential projects that we can, use that. Obviously, we have our capital improvement plan, and that's really the source of where we're looking, from a priority and from a funding perspective. So more to follow.
Yes. So it won't be it won't be misspent. There are plenty of ways to invest it in the town. That specific piece of sidewalk will be celebrated, a ribbon will be cut this week.
Friday.
Yes, this Friday. So if anybody wants to come out in the brisk weather and see the ribbon cutting for the East Avenue sidewalk, that will be at 1 in the afternoon near Allens Creek School.
Rumor has it might actually be approaching 30 degrees that
Balmy.
afternoon.
I will have to find, we'll all have to find
Sunscreen.
weather-appropriate gear, right? The next meeting of the Public Works Committee will be February 11th at 9 a.m. right here in this meeting room.
Thanks, Christine. New business, reading and approval of claims. Nate?
Yeah, Bill, earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $1,255,051.01. Notable claims include, speaking of sidewalk and paying for sidewalk, a payment to Keeler Construction, payment for the East Avenue sidewalks, a Noble Drive to Town Line, and I'll tell you this about that press conference, the ribbon cutting. No matter what the temperature is, we're not going to move it inside. 'Cause we're from Rochester, New York, and I was trying to get this right earlier with Earl. There's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. Christine, why don't you do the next one as well?
Gladly. The next matter seeks to approve the 12 Corners LED replacement project in an amount not to exceed $44,333.87 and approve budget transfers of $24,333.87 from the Department of Public Works New York State aid account and $20,000 from the Department of Public Works gas and electric account to the Department of Public Works facility improvements account. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And the reason you referenced the New York State aid account is that that 24,000 plus is money that the town previously received in 23 for other light conversions to LED lighting because we have money left over. We're able to apply that towards these replacements around the 12 corners and an additional budget transfer to cover the rest of the costs of that. So it's a good, exciting project to keep pushing, more and more, and we're going to be seeing it in the residential neighborhoods, LED conversions of not only the big overhead Cobra lights, but our more ornamental lights throughout town. And Robin, did you second that? Or no, Chris did.
I did.
Motion seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. Chris?
Bill, the next item is to accept a donation to the police department from Howard and Daphne Cohen in the amount of $500 and to increase the department's gifts and donations account by that amount. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Thanks
Thank you
to
to the-
Howard and Daphne.
Thank you to the
Thank you very
Cohens.
much.
They have been generous to the department over the years, and we appreciate it. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. And another gift, Chris.
The next item is to accept a donation to the police department from Marjorie Alamo in the amount of $1,000 and to increase the department's gifts and donations account by that amount. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And again, Marjorie, thanks so much. And it's been quite a long time since we've seen Marjorie. She's appeared before the town board many, many times in the past years.
Thank you, Mrs.
Best
Alamo.
regards to her.
Discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. Robin, the next matter.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to extend the term of an agreement with Steve Zimmer, former Deputy Commissioner of Public Works, by 4 months for a term of September 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Yeah, the original term of that agreement was through the end of February. This will extend it through June 30th. And as noted, Steve is former Deputy Commissioner of Public Works. Discussion? He has been providing a variety of services and will continue to do so. I know, Bill, you have occasion to work with him.
Yes, he's a wealth of knowledge, in town history. He can tell you where every manhole in this town is. I don't know how he does it. I'd like to extend this again, possibly.
We've got a motion. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Deanne, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. Nate, next matter, please.
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with the Beasley Group for the provision of cyber insurance in an amount not to exceed $15,070 for the calendar year 2025. I move that we approve this motion as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And Bill, I just want to add, I meant to touch on this during my FASC update. I believe this rate actually went down.
It did.
I like paying bills that go down every year.
Premium is less than it was for 2024, and we saw in another town just this past week the impact of cyber crime can take many forms, and unfortunately local municipalities are one place that people target. Another town in Monroe County was hit pretty seriously. They were able to recover some of the money lost, but the rest of it, they will only be recovering thanks to insurance. So we hope never to be in that position, but having the insurance policy and frankly having access to advice on how to protect yourself, not only from the Beasley Group, but also from some of the state organizations that we're a part of, helps us stay on the good side of those. So, fingers crossed. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. Christine.
The next matter seeks to authorize the solicitation of bids for goods and services for Public Works, Highway, and Sewer Departments as included in the 2025 budget. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is something we do each year. The Public Works Department requires a variety of goods and services over the course of the year. In some of these general categories, we take action at the beginning of the year to, again, sort of streamline purchasing as we go throughout the year. So as you see here, there are, hardware, landscape materials, hand and garden tools, paint, the kinds of things that are, for the most part, are not as expensive but are important. We authorize using other bids, state, city, county bids, again, to further facilitate all that. So this is something we do routinely as part of our procurement. We have a motion. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing.
Aye. Robin, the next matter, please.
Certainly. The next matter authorizes the supervisor to increase the agreement with DSA Services for the Town Hall renovation project's abatement removal in an amount not to exceed $1 million, an increase from $643,000. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And as Councilmember Salzman noted, we'll do these, through change orders as the work is ongoing, and it is ongoing, and they've actually finished their first area. Dan?
Nice.
The clerk's office has, they've completed remediation in that part of Town Hall, which mostly lies within the town clerk's office. And as we anticipated, as they did that work, as they got into the walls and whatnot, they found additional asbestos. And, but again, that was anticipated. This sets up a process by which these removals can be expedited, gives me the authority to sign those change orders on an ongoing basis, and there will be regular reports every Finance Committee meeting cycle. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Appointment to the Board of Assessment Review. Christine?
Yes, the next matter seeks to appoint Andrew T. Dollinger of 315 Avalon Drive to the Board of Assessment Review for a 5-year term, effective nunc pro tunc, October 1, 2024 through September 30, 2029. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Andrew is a longtime member of the Board of Assessment Review and a longtime Realtor in town. You want to know the skinny on things? Andrew has always been someone you want to talk to. So thank you, Andrew. We appreciate your continued willingness to serve the town. We have a motion seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Robin?
Certainly. The next matter seeks to set a public hearing for the removal and replacement of a 32-inch linden at 319 Chelmsford Road, a 32-inch Norway maple at 2349 Monroe Avenue, a 38-inch sugar maple at 216 Edgemore Road, and a 40-inch pignut hickory tree at 295 Ashbourne Road. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And the public hearing will be held on February 12th, 7 o'clock, right here. We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. And we have the one additional item that was added, the matter concerning entering into a agreement for consulting services with Michael Guyon. Christine?
Yes. Or Mike doesn't know how he managed to retire and keeps getting pulled back. So this matter is seeking to authorize the town, seeking for the town board to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Michael Guyon, P.E., for consulting services relating to the Department of Public Works at an hourly rate of $75 an hour for a term beginning January 23, 2025 through June 30th, 2025, subject to approval of the form of the agreement by the attorney to the town. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And Mike will be, again, as you've alluded, the wealth of knowledge that he has from his tenure both as town engineer and commissioner of public works on a variety of projects during this time period. We have a motion seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Get these all back in order here. Give me just a second. Okay, matters of the supervisor. I knew it was there. We talked about it earlier with our proclamation. Of course, this, not only Monday, Dr. Martin Luther King Day, but there were activities throughout the community this weekend relating to Dr. King's birthday and Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Of course, the town of Brighton, we held our event on Friday. Thursday night, I attended a prayer service and dinner honoring public officials and law enforcement officers. It was held at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church on Joseph Avenue on Friday itself. Of course, I also alluded to our event. On Sunday, I know Councilmember Wilt was also at the William Warfield Scholarship Fund concert, which is held on the weekend of Martin Luther King Day each year, helping a extraordinarily talented, in this case, as it is every year, black vocalist with a scholarship to the Eastman School of Music. And on the holiday itself, I not only attended the downtown, the Greater Rochester Martin Luther King Day Commission ceremony held every year in Kodak Hall, but also the Brighton Memorial Library hosts the Black Storytelling League at the library, which is just a wonderful event each year. It was a cold, snowy morning, so the crowd was down, but they engage with the kids, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to hear the black storytellers, who I learned are actually part of a nationwide organization of black storytelling organizations, and their annual convention will be in Buffalo later this year. But that same day in Washington, the inauguration was taking place. And while the inauguration is a ceremony that traditionally reflects the importance of a peaceful transfer of democratically elected leadership in America, a peaceful transfer that was put in jeopardy just 4 years ago. This year, I fear that the teachings of Dr. King, while celebrated here, were left by the wayside in Washington. I saw the image of the richest man in the world giving a Nazi salute at an inauguration speech. That was sickening. But I was also equally disturbed by policies proposed to be advanced in various unilateral executive orders that were issued either that day or in the immediate days to follow. I want to reinforce the message that this town board unanimously gave at our last meeting when we unanimously adopted a memorializing resolution that confirmed that Brighton's diversity is one of our great strengths as a community. It's one of the things that brings people to Brighton, people of different faith traditions, gender identities, the beautiful rainbow of diversity that we are fortunate to be home to here in Brighton. That's consistent and supported not only by town policies, but provisions of our town code. Let me say it again. We said it 2 weeks ago. The town of Brighton respects all gender identities of all of our residents, our employees, our volunteers. We celebrate pride in Brighton joyfully. And this town board adopted the town's Gender Equity and Non-Discrimination Act, GENDA, several years ago before the state of New York took action to approve similar legislation. And I think that's important. That is the law in the state of New York. Why did we do it here first? Again, because we are a welcoming and inclusive, diverse community for all of our residents. We're not going to discontinue our diversity, equity, and inclusion work in the town of Brighton. You may have heard that one of those executive orders unilaterally issued by the president put every single federal employee working to advance diversity in the federal government on leave with the anticipation that imminently they will be fired. Some big corporations have done the same thing in recent weeks. We're not going to do that, because doing something like that would undermine our continued ability to provide competent services to all of our residents. We talked about this at the last meeting. The Brighton Police Department is not charged with assisting ICE in federal immigration sweeps. That's not going to change. I learned today, and I want to echo some words, but I learned today that Washington's Episcopal Bishop, Mary Ann Buddy, I think it's pronounced Buddy, is actually a graduate of the University of Rochester. And instead of these executive orders that tear people apart and purport to dehumanize people in so many ways, I want to echo the words of Bishop Mary Ann Buddy, who called for mercy and compassion. That's who we are in Brighton. Our aspirations are higher. I will continue to lead and serve, and I know my colleagues seek to do the same. Continue to lead and serve in the Brighton community with much higher aspirations in mind. Moving, we've been talking about the ongoing assessment, the reassessment of property in Brighton. Brighton homeowners will shortly be receiving their first notice concerning their updated assessed valuation as part of our townwide revaluation process. Why? Again, because property values have soared in Brighton and throughout the Rochester area, but particularly in Brighton, since we last did a revaluation just in 2018, just in a little over 6 years. So the town is now conducting that revaluation of property, both residential and commercial. It's important that we get accurate pricing on all properties. I'll say it again, I can't stress it enough. Revaluation does not mean your taxes are going up, and certainly doesn't mean your taxes would go up by the amount that the assessed valuation or the fair market value of your home has gone up. What it means in a revaluation is that the value of your home, your neighbor's home, the doctor's office down the street, the retail stores will be all equalized at 100% of their fair market value. And the reason we do that, again, is to ensure that everybody pays their fair share of property taxes, no more, no less. During the revaluation process, all property owners will have 3 opportunities, formal or informal, to appeal their assessment. Again, the goal of that process, the goal of the appeals, the goal of the information that our assessor will have online on the webpage, already does have some of this information online, is to help every property owner work with the assessor's office to make sure that their home or other property is valued at its fair market value. If you've got questions, if you want some more information on what revaluation might mean for you, again, go to the assessor's page on the town website or call the assessor's office directly. Call our town assessor, Janine Whitaker. The assessor's office number is 784-5215. 784-5215, with questions about the revaluation. And again, I'll echo what you said earlier. This was our first real snow of the year, and it was tough because I'll tell you, I was out that morning. Of course, that was Monday morning. Not only did I take my Brickyard Trail walk, as I do, but drove downtown. And the snow was easily coming down at better than an inch an hour. When it's coming down that fast, it is very hard to keep up. But the crews were out salting, plowing, doing the sidewalks, and they did their usual good work. Appreciate it.
Thank you. The timing was tough.
It was. It was right at rush hour, and there was a lot of discussion on social media. But again, when it comes down that hard right at rush hour, when it was very cold, so the salt doesn't work as well, it was,
We do have some treated salt for those occasions, but
yeah. It was, unfortunately, the sort of a perfect storm kind of situation.
perfectly imperfect.
Right. Matters of the attorney to the town. John.
Thank you, Supervisor. Nothing to report, but I would request an executive session for 4 matters leading to the appointment, employment, and promotion of particular persons.
Thank you. We will do that. Matters of the town clerk. Tax season.
Tax season is underway. Again, we've got the drop boxes at door number 2, which is the front entrance to the police department. It's the door facing Elmwood. It is still open.
That's at 2300 Elmwood.
Yeah, sorry, 2300 Elmwood. We put that, I made sure and I got a bright yellow slip into every bill with big font to make sure everybody could see it and draw attention to it. That specifies all the payment options, so hopefully that's helps folks. So far, haven't had any trouble getting over here, and great reaction to our temporary home, and people have been good. So that's all going well. I just want to add to one thing earlier when you're talking about the MLK Day celebration. It's on our YouTube page. So you can go back and watch it now.
Good point, yes.
Which I was able to, as being tax season, quite busy. So I was able to have it pulled up in my office and was able to watch much of it from there when I was not at the counter or doing other stuff. And, like I know you said it during the thing, Bill, but, these kids are something else. So kudos to all the student speakers. And I mean, every year they wow me, but I'm trying to think back to if I could have done anything close to that at that age, and I don't know. So, but that's it for now.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Dan, because as I said at the ceremony, too often we hear folks complaining about kids or students. Should have been in the room that day. You would have seen some students. You would have seen some young people who are going to go far, thoughtful, really proud to hear their remarks, every single one of them. It was great.
Go watch them as soon as this meeting's over.
That's right.
YouTube.com,
Yep.
look up Town of Brighton's page, and it's right there.
Again, Brighton High School, Mercy, Our Lady of Mercy High School, and 12 Corners Middle School. Any matters of the town board?
Well, Dan, you mentioned the drop box. Now, you give me pause. I came by with some pharmaceuticals this afternoon and walked into the police lobby and think I threw them in the pharmaceuticals. Where's the drop box?
You wouldn't have been able to fit them into the. The drop box is much. It's a big imposing unit with a a door. Like you would have really. If you manage to do it, we're going to have some words later. I'll just put it that
I think
way.
I got them in the right box.
I think you should be good. Yeah.
But Chief, if you see some veterinary medicines for my last dog, that's
I'll know it's you.
Anything else?
Bill, I do see our town historian
Yes.
tonight.
Mary Jo.
Mary Jo Lanphier, and I just wanted to present you the opportunity if you.
Yes, to
had
present
time.
our
Yeah.
annual report,
Yeah.
right? Please. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome. It just occurred to me.
Mary Jo Lanphier, Town Historian.
Thank you for inviting me to come tonight. I've sent out to you a copy of my annual report. It's one of the only requirements, really, of the job is that we report every year, and a copy goes to the state historian. In this case, it's Devin Lander. So that's why you may have noticed on the email address that Devin's name was included. When I got my data out to write the report, I thought, oh, I didn't do anything last year at all. I mean, the 2023 report was almost thick compared to 2024, and then I got adding things up. And I guess I really did quite a bit of things, quite a few activities in 2024. So there were a lot of talks and public programs. One of the ones that I'd like to highlight is going to visit the second graders at Council Rock School. They are so cute. And I talk about the Council Rock and the history of the area. And then this year they were going over to the Stone Tolan House for a visit there. And they were going to walk over. And I was going to be the docent over there, and so it turned out to be the rainiest day, and they had to be driven over. But it was a lovely time with the second graders. I did an article a month for Brighton Connections, and that was a little bit difficult as it got toward the end of the year.
I feel your pain.
Yes. And a lot of collaborations this year. Historians who are in Monroe County get together on a regular basis, and we can reach out to each other. And so I worked with the city historian on several things. I've got the genealogy roundtable of Monroe County transcribing the early minutes of the town. They were all handwritten, and these are all older ladies that know how to read cursive handwriting. So they are doing this every month, and I hope we'll be able to get to the point where we'll get up to the point where the minutes are typewritten, and then they'll be able to be OCR'd or something like that. But at least for now, the early ones will be transcribed. What else did I do? Worked with some kids from the photography club from Brighton High School, Howard Ennis's group. I think they're going to have an exhibit later on in the spring, but it's kind of a 2-year project, I guess. They didn't quite get their act together before the end of the last school year. And also provided some information for Sean Dunwoody, who did a mural over at Indian Landing School. There's a lot of controversy about the big mural on the side of the building, but anyway, I provided some information for him on that, and then attended the event. And then we get to my wonderful intern. They contacted me from Nazareth University in the spring to see if I wanted an intern for the May through August term. 120 hours would be necessary for her to work, and she was from the Museums, Archives, and Public History program at Nazareth. So this was right up our alley to have somebody like that in the office. She found plenty to do. She sorted the map cases out. I've been kind of tossing things into the map cases over the years, and so she sorted everything out for the move. She also organized a couple of drawers full of welfare records from the 1930s through the 1950s. The town did a lot to help people out during the Depression. They had been kind of put up on the top shelf and not dealt with at all, so she did that. And in turn, to help her out, I took her around to visit other historians' offices. We went to Henrietta to see Tina Thompson and her operation there with Tinker Homestead and the Nature Center. And then we went out to the Penfield Local History Room to visit with Kathy Knauer, the Penfield historian, and Anna Jarvis, who's head of the local history room there. So she did get, I think, a pretty good experience. The last page of my report included quite a big paragraph that I wouldn't have included ordinarily. It was about the move, and that was very traumatic. That was packing up stuff that had been stored with me for over 30 years, and people keep bringing stuff in, too, so this is not something that's just static. It's constantly increasing. The history collection includes fragile documents, framed photographs and prints, portraits, bound volumes of the Brighton Pittsford Post, three-dimensional commemorative objects, rolled-up maps and plans, and a lot of other odd-sized artifacts that needed special care in packing. I packed 150 cubic foot boxes. Those are the banker's boxes, size boxes of stuff. And then there were 6 big tubs that Gary brought along, and then Dan from Vargas helped me with packing up the maps and books and the Brighton Pittsford Post bound volumes. So those are mostly all in storage. The other funny thing, not funny thing that happened, but I had 17 boxes of sewer records in my office that needed to be rehoused back with the sewer department. And this turned out to be the kind of the SWAT meet of the town during the October period. People kept finding stuff in their offices that needed to go to other places. And I found rolled up maps and plans that I took up to Jason Haremza. And Bridget found stuff in your vault that, came down to my office. So it was kind of one big, great trade-off. And I think everything got to the right place. Maybe we should do this every, 100 years. And get everything together. No? No, I agree. I farmed stuff out. Some things went to Historic Brighton, and other things went to other places. Asked former director, museum director, Memorial Art Gallery director, Grant Holcomb, for advice on packing up a couple of things. We have a framed, not an unframed, I should say, painting of Leonard Buckland, who's flaking. And I've always kind of treated him very carefully and kept him away from everything else. Grant said he was fine the way he was. It would cost quite a few dollars to get him stabilized, and so just to keep him covered up with a piece of tissue and put him in a breathable plastic bag, and so that's where he is. He's now over at the Buckland House, where he sort of belongs, I think. And and then the other thing that happened was with Dan. Dan's marriage records needed to be digitized. And I had a friend at the Rochester Genealogical Society who they have purchased some portable digitization equipment. And I offered my space in my office for them to work because I figured they could keep the material locked up there in between sessions. That might have been a mistake because it left me with just one table on which to sort and pack things. So I'm not regretting that I did it, but maybe I should have rethought it in the beginning. There wasn't a lot of space. But anyway, that's my report. Looking ahead, we have in 2025 the bicentennial of the Erie Canal, and I just got yesterday a wonderful banner that it was free. They offered it last fall. It was supposed to come before we moved. It didn't. I never got it. And then they sent a letter around, a message around last week saying, sorry, a lot of people didn't get the banners, and so it came finally. It's beautiful. And I immediately asked Sarah about it, if she wanted to use it, and send a message to Becky if she wanted to use it, and to Matt Bayshore over at the library, and to Dina to see if they want to use it for a program, because it's a really nice piece. Another thing that's coming up is the semi-quincentennial of the Declaration of Independence. That's in 2026, along with the centennial of Ellison Park. And so I'll be working on that with his Penfield historian. Also, Christine and I are going to have to get together about the signage for the farmers market eventually. And we're also going to try to revamp and put together again the docent program for the Buckland House. It kind of went by the wayside when COVID came along, and we really need to get that house opened on a regular basis on a weekend, so that will be coming along. Right now, I'm working on a list of town justices because the court system wants to have a wall of honor, and we're trying to get all the people who were ever appointed justice for the town of Brighton together. And Miriam and I are going to be working on something for February, and I don't know what it is, but we're going to be doing something. So that's my report. Any questions at all?
You know, all I can thank you very, very much. And now that your office is, you know, right around the corner from mine, it's just wonderful to see the people, community members that you work with on a routine basis, the records that you have there, the dedication to the history of Brighton. We are very fortunate to have you. Thank you for that report. Can I have a motion to, Robin, I'll ask you to receive and file?
Certainly,
the annual report.
I move that we receive and file the annual report of the town historian.
Second.
Discussion, other than to say bravo. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Thank you to our ASL interpreters. We always appreciate having you here. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the four matters relating to employment, promotion of particular people?
I move that we go.
Move that we go into executive session to discuss the employment of 4 persons, I believe. Correct, John?
Yep. Matters leading to the employment and appointment and promotion of 4 people.
Can I? And actually, there is actually a 5th one, but we're not going to take any action.
Okay, so 5 matters.
5 matters.
Can I have a
Second.
second? Second, thank you, Robin. Discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. I do not anticipate that we'll be coming back into open session after executive session. So our next meeting will be Wednesday, February 12th, here at Empire State University at 7 p.m. Hope to see you there. Go Bills!
Go Bills.